Hey, Pretty Girl Club. So today I want to tell you a story time about my bitch ass manager and how I walked out of my job as an accountant so that I could do YouTube, and also because I was just tired of the basic Betty bullshit. So, I talk a lot on this channel about how every pretty girl should have her own YouTube channel or some other stream of income. It doesn't even matter if it's YouTube, honestly, even if it's something like Instacarting, Ubering, DoorDash, whatever it is that you need to do so that you can prioritize your mental health. That's most important. And I learned this so many times. I just feel like it took me so many different jobs in order to finally realize that I did not want to work a normal 9 to 5. So, just a little bit of background, I've always been the type of person that will start off at a job and then I eventually get bored with it. I noticed that 9 to 5 jobs would kind of almost trigger like this depression in me after about a year or so because I don't feel like I'm making progress. And I just feel like the 9 to 5 kind of office jobs just didn't fit with my personality because I noticed that every year, like the longest I've ever been at a job was literally only a year and a half. And that was only because that particular job was like a job where I was afloat. And that was in my early 20s. I used to work as a receptionist back then. So I used to work at this hospital where I did reception work. And then I would go to like a different floor in the hospital depending on the day of the week. So that was the only reason that that job even lasted for a year and a half. So fun fact, I've never actually been fired except for one time I got fired wrongfully, and then they had to admit later on that I was fired wrongfully, then they had to pay me thousands of dollars. But I just want to make this disclaimer because I have always wanted to have freedom. So for those of you who are into personality types like the Enneagram or whatever, so I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 2. I'm also an ENTJ. I care a lot about having power over my own life, kind of having like autonomy and having freedom. But I had always suppressed that part of myself because I come from a long line of people who are they're 9 to 5 people. So the medical field, or people who work in like finance, people who work in education. My whole family for generations, they have all, for the most part, had like 9 to 5 jobs. And so that was just kind of the suburban lifestyle I grew up in. So anyway, I had gotten tired of working administrative jobs. And so I decided to switch careers again. And my goal was to become an accountant. So I started off by working for my auntie's family business. I worked for the family business and I did like financial stuff. I did payroll stuff. I learned how to do QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is like a bookkeeping software. And basically, I started gaining skills with QuickBooks software and I noticed I was pretty good at it. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I'd be kind of good at finance. So let me try to get a finance job after I'm done, after I stop working for my family business. So that's what I did. My very first job in finance was as a financial coordinator. I worked at a school. And by the way, that was some bullshit too, because at that job, that's the one where they tried to report me for literally wearing pants. They tried to say, oh, you let Exoticals United wear leggings because she works in finance. So, like, the teachers at that school, they tried to report me and say that, like, the principals were showing favoritism towards me because I worked in finance and they let me wear whatever I want, versus the girls who were teachers. By the way, these were all white girls. Versus the girls who were teachers, they had to dress in, like, homely looking outfits. It's because the job was at a Christian school, but it's like, anyway, so that was already some bullshit right there. But you guys know how I am. I'm kind of the person where it's like, I do feel like I can trigger people, but I don't, it's not always my personality though. I feel like for the most part, it could be other factors. Well, actually, no. You know what? It can be my personality because sometimes I just don't give a fuck, and I'm not scared of people at work and stuff, so I will definitely confront them. Okay, sorry. Let's get back into the story. So I started off as a financial coordinator, and then I ended up getting an accounting job at a really big firm, like one of the biggest, or not an accounting firm, but I got an accounting job at a very big company that was one of the biggest companies in my city. And so once I had that title on my resume that I was an accountant at one of the biggest employers in this major city that I live in, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to see what other accounting jobs I can get. So I ended up applying for this one accounting job. It was at one of these places where they kind of like, they do some like nonprofit work basically. So they help disabled people, they help people of color. Like that's a part of what they did. And so, me being the type of person that was always kind of job hopping, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, I was like, you know what? Maybe this will be kind of my dream job because I get to do finance and I also get to help people. So I feel like I have a purpose or whatever. So I applied for this job. And the guy interviewing me, he was a white guy my age. He was like a millennial. So I'll call him Sam. And then there was a Latina woman, and let's call her Sarah. Let's call her Sarah. So, for those of you who don't know, my background is black, white, Mexican. So, Latinas, phenotypically, I feel like my phenotype is more like how Cardi B or somebody else's phenotype would be, more like Tia and Tamara or somebody like that. So, I do not look like the average phenotypical Latina. I know Tia and Tamara are black and white, but that tends to be more of my phenotype. So anyway, I remember I was in the interview with Sam and Sarah, and so they were like, "Why do you want to work at this job?" And I was like, "Well, I really like the charity work you guys do, and so this job will combine all of my passions because I get to work in finance, which is something I'm good at, and also I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for the people in my family who were helped by nonprofits in the past, because my background is, a part of my background is Latin American, as well as having immigrants way back in my family line who actually did come from places like Ireland and Italy. And so I wouldn't be able to be where I am today if it weren't for people helping my family. And so, seeing as the woman was a Latina and the guy was a white guy with an Irish background himself, I ended up getting the job. And so, but first of all, this job, it was not even a high paying job. It was just a staff accountant. So, for those of you who are into accounting, you guys know that there's like the CPA. I am not a certified public accountant. I don't even have an accounting degree, by the way, just a side note. So, I absolutely believe that part of what got me in the door had to do with, well, later on, I found out it had to do with things like pretty privilege. You could argue that it had to do with mixed race privilege because I did bring up my racial background in the interview because, there's a white guy and there's a Latina woman. So if I'm black, white, Latina in my ancestry, then hell yeah, I'm going to bring it up. So anyway, I ended up getting this job, and the offer on Indeed, it said that the job was making about $10,000 less than I wanted to make. And so the guy, he offered me the job, and he offered me, well, they both offered me the job at more than $10,000 past the starting amount that it was supposed to be making. And so I was always taught that you should always try to negotiate. Like if somebody gives you a job offer, you don't just accept it. You try to negotiate like, well, can we go higher or can I get like $5,000 more? So the Latina woman, Sarah, she called me and she was like, "Hey, I just wanted to offer you the job. Like this is how much you're offering." And I was like, "Okay, is that your final offer or can that be negotiated? Is there any way that I can make more money than that?" And it was already $10,000 past what they had offered me. And so I was like still asking for more just because that's what I've been taught. And on the phone, like this was the first red flag right here. On the phone, this woman, she was like, "Well, no, like that's what we're offering. We feel like, you have some growing to do because you're still new to the accounting field. So we feel like that is a good offer for you." And the first time I talked to this lady on the phone, even though I had known her in the interview, I was thinking, she sounds kind of like a gaslighter. And I was also thinking, she sounds kind of insulted at the fact that I'm asking for even more money, even though I had been offered over $10,000 of what the starting salary was. She almost seems offended that I am like confident enough to negotiate a higher salary because it's like, I mean, I have bills to pay. The bills are billing. Okay. So I have bills to pay. But I was like, you know what? This is nothing. Like, she's probably not a gaslighter. And so anyway, I accepted the offer because it was still $10,000 above. So I was like, okay, this is great, whatever. So I started the new job, and literally from the first day, Sarah, the manager, was a bitch. Like she was a bitch from day one. And also, I want to say, just for context, Sarah was morbidly obese. Like she was not just overweight, she wasn't thick or whatever. No, she was literally obese, literally shaped like a refrigerator. And I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to give context. That's her body shape. I'm not body shaming, I'm just telling you that happened to be her body shape. And you guys know me, I tend to be pretty slim. I do a lot of hiking and running and stuff like that. So I had never thought about the body thing. I had never really cared about that anyway. So I walked into the job on the first day and I was like, oh, hey, good to see you or whatever. And she was like, hi. And literally from the first day, she refused to train me. And I was thinking, okay, that's kind of weird. I mean, I understand that as an accountant, you already have knowledge, which I already did have knowledge. I wasn't expecting her to train me on the accounting stuff per se, but I was just like, how when you start a new job, you need a login, you need a key. Like I needed a key to get into the different parts of the buildings, like the ID badge that you put through the different doors and stuff. So I needed stuff like that, and she did not want to help me. She was like, "Oh, you can figure it out." And so I was already thinking, okay, this comes off as gaslighting, but okay. And so I started asking other people, like, hey, can I get a key, like to the HR lady and stuff? And I asked Sam, who was the white guy, he was the CFO. He was like above her, he was above Sarah. And so I asked him, and then he came back to Sarah and was like, hey, are you not helping Exoticals United? Because you're supposed to be helping her. She's a new employee. Like she needs her stuff. She needs her login. She needs her key. She needs access to her phone, the little office phone and stuff, in case vendors and all that, in case they are calling in, they need to speak to the accounting department. And so basically, he was getting on her because she wasn't helping me. But I still didn't think anything of it. I was very gracious and I was like, oh, yeah, no worries. So I could already tell from day one that she had absolutely no management experience whatsoever. I could already tell. And another thing that happened, literally, I'm not kidding, this was literally my first day of work. I came into the office kitchen and I was microwaving something, and then I grabbed a fork, and she was in the office kitchen. I grabbed a fork, those plastic forks and like the little paper plates that they have in the office kitchen. So I grabbed like a little fork and I was going to put my stuff in a bowl, and she was like, "That's mine." And I was like, "Oh, these are your forks? Oh, I'm sorry." And so then I put the fork back, and I was looking at the other stuff just to see like if there are plates or cups, and she was like, "That's mine too." And I was like, "Oh, okay, no worries." And then she was like, "Everything in the cabinet is mine." And I swear to God, I literally had to take my stuff out of the microwave, drive to the grocery store that day, like right there in that moment. I had to take my stuff out of the microwave and drive to the grocery store to purchase myself some plastic forks and paper plates or whatever. But my thing is, we all are fucking accountants. You have a big ass office. All of us have our own offices. If you really want to just keep your forks and your plates and whatever to yourself, why not put it in your office? Why would you put it in the office kitchen with no label on it, and it's in the cabinet or it's sitting right there in the middle of the table where everybody in the whole building sits down, and then you just want to say, "Oh, you need to ask me for permission," or like, "That's mine." It's coming off as you just want to have people ask you permission for using your forks or whatever. You just want to feel powerful, basically. You want to feel powerful. You want to feel like people need you. You know those people that need to be needed? So I'm not kidding, this was literally on my first day. So I was like, okay, that's extremely weird. So what I was thinking though, I was thinking, okay, it's very obvious that she's got some social issues. So you know how some people have social anxiety, or they have like, I don't know, different like mental health disorders and stuff. So I was thinking, okay, she probably has one of those. Maybe she's struggling with me being here or something, but why would she hire me? But okay, whatever. So I got my new stuff out of the cabinet, or I mean, I got my new stuff from the grocery store and I just kept it in my office, all my paper plates and stuff. And I didn't get mad or anything. I still had a positive attitude. And since she wasn't training me, I was going through all of the files in the drive. Like I was going through all of the accounting documents. I was watching tutorial videos on how they use their particular bookkeeping software, because they actually used a different bookkeeping software. They had their own process for how they did the journals and stuff. I was able to find the chart of accounts. Basically, she was floored at the amount of stuff I was able to teach myself. She thought that she would be able to basically sabotage me from day one by not training me. She basically told me to figure it out. Like I later on realized that she had told me to figure it out because she was hoping that I would not be able to figure it out and would have to come back and kind of suck up to her and ask her like, "Oh, can you help me? Can you teach me this? Can you teach me that?" And so after about a month or so, I had so much information to the point where I was doing an excellent job. Like I'm not even trying to brag. I was absolutely crushing it because I'm the type of person, she didn't know this, but I literally used to work in investigative journalism. So I'm very good at finding information, sourcing information, writing notes, writing bullet points, summarizing information, teaching myself information. So I literally, I'm not even exaggerating. By the way, she had no training manuals, no documentation of anything, nothing. I'm not kidding. I literally made over 40 standard operation procedures for myself. This is just my personal notes. And I put screenshots and everything, like this is what I click on, so I can remember everything. This is what I click on. This is where I log in. This is the file that I put stuff in or whatever. This is where I put the invoices. For those of you who work in accounting, I guess it depends on what type of accounting you work in, but it's like I was memorizing everything. I had all my information. I had my check stock, because you know how you have to print checks sometimes if you're an accountant. Maybe you need like bank information and stuff like that. I called the bank. I got all the information that I needed to get. I got my name on the things that I needed to get my name on. And so the white guy, the CFO, he knew that I was doing a good job. And he was kind of like, he was very friendly. I'm not going to say flirty, but he would like be very friendly with me. He would compliment my body. He would like compliment how good my body or like how in shape I was basically. So he would be like, oh, have you been going running lately? So he was very friendly with me. And I didn't think anything of it, but this girl, Sarah, the Latina, the refrigerator lady, actually, I'm just going to call her Miss Refrigerator. So Miss Refrigerator, she could tell that the CFO was like very nice to me and very friendly. And I don't think she liked that. And then another thing that happened was this other white manager guy, he was also very nice to me and very friendly. And he was the one who, if you're in the Discord, he was the guy who kept coming in my office damn near every day. He would try to like randomly eat lunch in like the area where I would eat lunch, even though it's literally a 2-story building. You could eat lunch anywhere. Most people actually would eat like in their office or maybe in the little hangout lounging area. So she noticed that I was not fazed by her being mean or her not training me. And I've always been very nice and friendly. And I was even still friendly to her because I figured, she probably just has something going on with herself socially. Maybe she just has an inferiority complex about, it could be anything. It could be about her weight, about her accounting skills or whatever. So I wasn't offended by it. I was still nice to her too. And literally, I noticed that number one, whenever these guys would come around, so I immediately noticed her pick me behaviors. So Miss Refrigerator, whenever a black guy would come around or a white guy, her whole entire voice would change. So she naturally had this husky voice where she talks like this. She would always talk like this all the time. So she would have that husky ass voice. But then when a guy would come around, she'd be like, oh, hi, Sam. Oh, it's so nice to see you. Oh my God. So her whole entire voice would change. There was this one black guy. He was a client. He would sometimes come in and talk about accounting stuff. She literally would follow around this guy, like trying to get his attention. But I was thinking, Miss Refrigerator, they're not thinking about you like that. But I didn't say that. I was thinking it. I was thinking, wow, she really wants these guys' attention. But I was just like, whatever. I kept being nice to everyone. And it got to the point where people would come to my office, like if they had a question or something, or they would just come and say hi. They'd be like, hey, Exoticals United, how are you? Like the people from the different departments. And this is because like with Miss Refrigerator, I tried to be friends with her and stuff, but she wasn't interested basically. So I was like, okay, no worries. And I just basically started becoming friendly with other people. But she seemed to also get annoyed or almost like jealous when other people would kind of bypass her office. Because, by the way, she was my direct supervisor. So she would get annoyed when people would bypass her office and walk past her so that they could come to my office and kind of chit chat with me and just say hi and just be friendly. And literally, I'm not kidding. I remember there were multiple times where people would be coming to my office just talking to me. Anytime she would hear me laughing, she would be like, Exoticals United! And she would literally shout my fucking name across the hallway. Who shouts people's names in the hallway at a fucking accounting office? First of all, who does that? That's crazy as fuck. And so once again, I was thinking, okay, maybe she has some social issues. She's probably stressed and overworked. And so I didn't think anything of it. Then another time happened again where this other lady, because there were other accountants in that department. So one of the other accountants, she came into my office and she was talking to me. So I was cool with this other accountant. She was like this Indian lady, and I was cool with her because she thought that I had that in my background, and because I'm so knowledgeable about a lot of stuff that has to do with like Indian culture. I like a lot of the food and stuff. I'm into like all kinds of stuff. So she saw some of my stuff in my office, some of my different like oils and my different teas, and even some of the food that I would eat and stuff. And so she asked me about it, and she would talk to me about it. And literally, when I was basically bonding with this other accountant lady, then once again, Miss Refrigerator's like, Exoticals United! And I was like, are you okay? And she's like, did you finish those journals? And she would literally try to make it like every single time I was talking to someone, she would randomly say, did you finish this? Did you do that? As if I wasn't doing my work. And so I got so good. So I started to recognize her patterns. I was like, okay, she's obviously trying to sabotage me. Like she seems threatened for whatever reason. She doesn't like me. And so I started getting so good at doing my job to where I would do extra. Like I would go above and beyond so that she could never say, did you finish this? Did you finish that? Because I already knew, okay, we've got a deadline on the 6th, or, I have to print these checks out, or I have to pay these vendors, I have to do these journals, whatever, have to like do all these different reports. And so I was so on top of my shit to where she tried to change her strategy, and she tried to pile more and more work onto me in hopes that I would become overwhelmed, because she would actually complain and say, oh, I work every day until midnight. Like, we were salaried, first of all. If I'm fucking salaried, why the fuck would I work every day until midnight? Do you not have a life? Like, seriously, do you not have a life? Why the fuck would I be working at a job? I'm not a CFO. This is not freaking JP Morgan Chase. It's literally a tiny ass company. I mean, it's a nice company, but it's a tiny ass company. Why the fuck would I be working every day until midnight? Until midnight. And so then I was thinking, okay, I can see why you're struggling. But anyway, she would get mad because I wouldn't work till midnight. Like once I log off, my schedule is like, 7:30 to 4:30 or whatever it was. So once it was time for me to be off work, I was off work. So no. And I remember one time she texted me and she was like, oh, do you have time to do some journals this weekend? And I literally responded back in the text and I was like, no, why are you doing journals on the weekend? Like, it's the weekend. We're off work. You don't have to do this. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, like no worries. And so she was one of those managers that was trying to create this culture of you need to be working 24/7 and have no life outside of this. And I wasn't having it because I know that you can't fire me for not working outside of my schedule. Like if my offer letter says you are working from this time to that time, then that's my time that I'm working. So I will be here on time and I will do my job and I'm going to do a good job, but I'm damn sure not going to not have a weekend and not have fun because you don't have a life and you want to do journals until 12 midnight on a Saturday night. Hell no. So I remember like me and the CFO, Sam, the white guy, the CFO guy, he was more chill like me. So he would also get off, when it's time for him to get off. He had a life outside of work as well. And so basically the only people working extra were like Miss Refrigerator, and then she would try to bully this other accountant lady, the lady that was cool with me. She kind of tried to bully her into working late. And another thing that happened was, so when I first started working there, Miss Refrigerator, she talked shit about the Indian accounting lady. Like she talked shit about her Indian food. She said that it stunk up the like the lunchroom area, and she was like, yeah, she always leaves her food in the sink. And I already knew that she was being fake as fuck because I had just seen her talking to the Indian lady and smiling in her face, and so I didn't like how she was smiling in that lady's face. And then when I came as the new employee, then she wants to come up to me and talk shit behind her friend's back. So I already didn't like that. But I didn't participate in the shit talking and gossiping. And I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Well, she seems really nice. And, so I was very like I didn't talk shit. I didn't participate in that because I could tell that she wanted to do this thing where she wanted to like kind of bully somebody. I could tell that she was one of those people that she wanted to be able to bully somebody because it makes her feel more powerful or whatever, but I'm not that type of person. I don't bully random people. In fact, if I'm going to bully someone, I'm going to bully whoever's bullying me. So, anyway, she didn't like that I didn't want to engage in the shit talking. And so that was another reason why I feel like she didn't like me. But then as time went on, I found out that she had been an accountant for 10 years and she only made $10,000 more than what I made. And it took her over a decade just to get to only $10,000 more. Meanwhile, I was starting off at around $20,000 more than how she started off at. And by the way, I am half her age. So I was about, this was only a couple years ago. So I was around 30-ish because I'm 32 now. And she was like fucking 50 years old. And, she only made about $10,000 more than me. And she had a degree, like she had an accounting degree. Basically, she had way more credentials than me. She had way more experience than me. Everything about her was better than me in terms of accounting skills and knowledge and whatever, but she didn't know how to social climb, clearly, because she was only one step above me in terms of supervising. So I found that out. And once I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, this totally makes sense now. So you're jealous because I started off getting paid more than you. You view me as probably being entitled or like that's not fair because I had less than 2 years of accounting experience. I don't even have an accounting degree. She knew that. And yet I still got hired. So that was when I realized that she actually was not the one that was in charge of hiring me. It was Sam. It was the CFO guy, the millennial guy who was like my age, and we kind of vibed well. So I was thinking, okay, so she never wanted me to work here in the first place because she felt like it wasn't fair that I got, the amount of money that I got. But I still was gaslighting myself. And I was like, no, I'm probably reaching. She probably is not thinking about me like that. And so then as time went on and I kept doing my job and she couldn't have any, she didn't have any smoke for me because there were no real errors that she could really point out. Like I remember one time, I am not kidding, literally, she sent a fucking email and she CC'd the CFO and she got mad because I put on the date. So like when you enter something into the system, you have to put the date. So I put like March 1st, 2023. And she was like, oh, excuse me, Exoticals United. I just wanted to email you because I noticed that on the journals you put 2023 and not 23. So I literally was thinking, you're sending a whole fucking email and you're CCing the CFO just to tell me that I didn't abbreviate the year. It has nothing to do with actual accounting. All of the numbers are correct. All of the invoices are correct. All of the checks I made are correct. Everything else that actually has any substantial effect on the company is correct. And you are so obsessed with nitpicking to where you don't like that I wrote 2023 instead of apostrophe 23. Are you fucking kidding me? So I was like, oh no, she's hella jealous. I was like, she's hella jealous. But I was like, whatever, like, this is not a big deal. Another thing I noticed is that nobody else in the entire office liked her. Everybody else was like, oh, she's super rude. She's a gaslighter. She writes rude emails. Everybody had already been talking about Miss Refrigerator from the day that I walked in, but I gave Miss Refrigerator the benefit of the doubt. I was like, you know what? Sometimes at work people talk shit. I'm going to, judge her for myself because I know what it's like to have people make up shit about me when they just don't like me. And so I'm going to give her a chance. And so after these few months went by, I was thinking, oh yeah, everything everybody says is absolutely true because she's a gaslighting ass, refrigerator ass bitch. I'm sorry. I don't care if I'm being mean right now because this lady was straight up bullying me. But I still was like, you know what? Maybe she'll come around or something. Maybe she feels threatened or something. So then it gets even worse. So this bitch decides to not tell me when the freaking accounting meetings are. How do you not tell a staff accountant when the accounting meetings are? Why are the meetings not put in the calendar? Why is there no email going around saying, hey, this is when we have the accounting meetings? So the only way that I found out from the accounting meetings is because thankfully I know how to ask a lot of questions. So I asked the other lady, the accountant that I got along with really well, I asked her, I was like, yeah, are there any like special meetings I should know about? And she was like, oh yeah, we have a meeting with the CFO. And I was thinking, wow, she potentially was trying to leave me out of these meetings with the CFO because maybe she wanted to have more information than me, or maybe she just wanted me to look bad. and then wanted the CFO to be like, oh, hey, where's Exoticals United? Like, she's not here. She didn't show up. And so thankfully, I still showed up to the meetings. So I could tell that every little test that Miss Refrigerator tried to give me to make my job worse or to make it harder, um, she failed basically. So you know those basic Betties, the older women at the jobs that get pissed off because they worked 30 years and they're only making, $10,000 more than what they started at, and then they get pissed when like a young, ambitious person comes in and like, we're really sharp and we're doing our thing and we don't work until midnight and we still get to keep our jobs. So I could tell she was one of those ladies where she basically was just bitter about where her career was at. But what she didn't know is that I'm actually not even a career oriented person. You guys know my job history. If I don't like the job anymore, I'm walking out. I have switched careers so many different times. I've done every single job you can think of, damn near. I've done everything from working as a maid in a hotel to working as a barista to journalism to accounting. So I never was the type of person where it's like, oh, I have to climb the career ladder and like be better than others. I never even viewed it like that. But she obviously did view it like that. And she seemed to be mad or jealous because she had even mentioned about how basically she didn't feel like she was getting the money she deserved. But you know what? That's not my fucking problem. That's not my problem, bitch. Okay, anyway, sorry. So as time went on, I was doing my job really well, and she got mad because I didn't need her. She thought that I would come back and kind of beg her to teach me stuff, but I learned things on my own. I created all of these standard operating procedures on my own. And I even told the CFO, I was like, oh yeah, I created all these different standard operating procedures. And he was like very impressed. And then she started getting pissed because she was trying to sabotage me, but then I just found a way to like make it work for myself. Like I would screenshot everything and, like make notes. I'm not kidding. Every time she walked in my office and started talking about something, I swear to God, I would immediately start typing on the computer. I would start typing word for word quotes on what she said, because then she can't go back and try to gaslight and be like, I never said that. No, I started literally writing down every single word that she would say to me. I remember one time, because she would have this habit of like saying one thing and then she would try to hurry up and change it so that I like get it wrong. And so that's why I started doing the typing thing. And I didn't say that. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to type everything you say so that you can't gaslight me. No, I said, oh, I'm just going to take notes just to make sure that I'm doing everything accurately. And I remember one time I was like, oh, do you mind emailing me? Like if you ever find out new information, just so I have a record of it. She literally said no. She said no, she's not going to email me because she didn't want me to have a record of it. That's how insanely desperate she was to be able to try to change the rules. And so I was like, you know what? No big deal. And I just started typing things and writing things out. So then she started getting caught making the errors, because when she would try to change something a couple months later, I would be like, well, no, actually on March 1st, 2023, you actually told me, quote, and then I would quote exactly word for word what she had said. And she was the one who CC'd the CFO in the emails. So it's like, if I'm responding to the email, yeah, I'm responding with everybody in the email. So then she started getting pissed because basically she couldn't try to gaslight me anymore, because now at this point, I even had quotes and exact instructions that she had written down. And I had created all of these different SOPs for myself. So she didn't know that I had created all of these instructional manual documents for myself. She thought that I was just dumb enough to just think I could memorize everything, like where to click, where to go, what websites to go on. Because literally, as an accountant, there are times where you have to go on 50 or 60 different websites, just depending on what you're doing. If you're doing accounts payable, accounts receivable, whatever. So I literally created so many detailed documents to where I looked like a fucking genius. And so she started getting more and more pissed. And she literally, I'm not kidding, she would try to give me fucking pop quizzes on accounting. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. She literally typed up a multiple choice quiz on accounting and tried to be like, oh, pick out of these 5, like A, B, C, or D, like what would you do in this accounting scenario? And I remember when she walked into my office with a fucking pop quiz in her hand, I was like, wait, Miss Refrigerator, are you serious right now? Like, so I'm going to stop doing my actual job because you're going to quiz me? I didn't say it like that, but I was like, I really did ask her. I was like, wait, is this a real thing? And she was like, oh, I just want to see where you're at, And then I was like, oh, well, I'm feeling anxious right now because I kind of feel almost like you're trying to put me on the spot. And I said it in a very nice way. I said those exact words, like, oh, this is making me feel kind of anxious. Like, is everything okay? Or do you think I'm doing an okay job with everything? I already knew that I was doing a fantastic job, but I genuinely was still trying to be nice in that moment. I was like, oh, is everything okay? Or like, are you noticing that I'm messing up on certain things? And she was like, oh no. And then she tried to backtrack. She was like, oh no, it's not a big deal. I just want you to keep this stuff in mind because, if I'm not here or if you get promoted or like whenever they try to promote you, then, you want to know this information. And I was thinking, promotion? What? I just started working here. I don't want to get promoted at this job. The fuck? But the fact that she randomly brought up promotions or like me climbing the ladder, like me climbing the accounting ladder at that job, then I felt like, okay, she basically, she let it slip that she viewed me as someone who was going to surpass her in terms of accounting, or basically she was trying to do this thing where it's like, okay, fine, I'm on your side now. So now I'm going to try to take credit for some of the stuff that you learn here so that when you get promoted and when you move up, then like, at least I get to say, oh, well, I taught her XYZ about accounting stuff. And I was thinking, okay, so she was obviously threatened by me this whole time. And so anyway, I ended up, I actually took the quiz. I did the little quiz, even though I didn't have to. And I only got one wrong out of the little questions. And this is as someone who does not have an accounting degree. And I'm not trying to brag. I definitely don't think I'm an expert at all. But I was willing to learn. I was literally at this job. This is how much I cared about doing a good job because I'm not about to let somebody fuck up my career. So I literally had cared so much about that particular job to where outside of work, I was listening to podcasts about accounting. I was making sure that I was up to date on like different terminologies or like, different ways of people doing it. So long story short, I realized that they were doing some bad stuff. You know how like you can commit fraud and stuff with accounting. You know how you can like try to fudge the books or try to make it look like you have more money than you actually do. So I noticed that. I noticed that they were doing some, some shady stuff or like they were basically doing it wrong. And then I mentioned it and I was like, hey, how come when you guys do the chart of accounts, you mark it as this when it's not supposed to be that? Like you're making the actual numbers, you're inflating the numbers basically. You're making it say that like we have this much money or like we brought in this much money when you actually didn't. And then she was like, well, that's just how we do it, blah, blah, blah. And then I was thinking, okay, that's fine. I mean, you guys are the experts, I guess, like whatever. And I also realized that she had been trying to bully the CFO guy. So basically me and the white guy, the CFO, we're both millennials. And so she's like a Gen Xer. So she's like 50 something. So she probably felt kind of like a loser or something, maybe like being the oldest and then like her boss is younger than her or like, the president of the entire company is like younger than her or whatever. I don't know. So I noticed that she didn't get along with him either. And then I realized, okay, yeah, so it's not just me because she tried to bully the Indian lady and talk shit behind her back. She tries to bully the CFO guy. Everybody else in the office thought she was a bitch. I tried to give her a chance and now I think she's a bitch as well. And so then I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm not even going to try to be nice or anything anymore. I really don't give a fuck because I know that I'm smart and I'm good at my job. So if she wants me here, great. If she doesn't, great. I don't care because the CFO liked me and that was the one that had hired me in the first place. So I just kept minding my business and doing my job. And I remember there was one day where they were taking pictures for their social media, like just taking random pictures of people in the office. And they were like, oh, Exoticals United, can I get a picture of you? Because you look so cute or whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, thanks. And then Miss Refrigerator, she was like, yeah, she always looks pretty. And she said it like it almost sounded like she was saying it in a negative way, as if she was resenting me. But I was like, you know what? She probably wasn't saying it that way. She was probably just, maybe she has gas or something. I don't know. So anyway, I was just like, whatever. And then literally this lady, she starts dressing like me. And I was like, okay. So the first time she did it, I was like, no, I'm being delusional because I don't own the color black. Anybody can wear black. So she's probably not. But I started gradually dressing in a specific way, just to kind of test it because yes, I'm a troll. So I was like, you know what? Let me wear winter boots because it was literally like summertime. It was like 90 degrees. I was like, I'm going to wear ankle boots with socks that go over the boots, because it's 90 degrees. Nobody's wearing this. So I was like, I'm going to wear the boots with the socks, and then I'm going to wear my little skirt, and I'm going to wear a long sleeve shirt because, again, it's summertime. So nobody's going to be wearing it. Like, if you wear this, it is completely obvious that you are copying me. Tell me why this refrigerator ass bitch literally came in with the same fucking outfit on. And I called it out. I did. I was like, oh my gosh, Miss Refrigerator, you look so cute. I was like, you look just like me. You look like a twin. So yeah, that was a bitchy comment. But you know what? I don't care. Because at that point, she had done so much bullshit over those past like 6 months or whatever, to where I was like, I don't even give a fuck anymore. So yes, I'm calling this bitch out for copying my outfit. And then she was like, oh yeah, you know, I wore these boots because it was raining, or like it said it was gonna rain. I was thinking, no, the fuck, it wasn't gonna rain. You know damn well that it doesn't rain over here, like in the part of in the city that I lived in. I was like, you know damn well that it's not gonna fucking rain. It's hot as fuck. So no, it's not gonna rain. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. So anyway, I was just like, whatever. And I also noticed that, like, so you know how she was controlling about the forks and like everything. So this bitch, first of all, she would eat fucking pizza for breakfast. She would eat pizza for breakfast because we had like the little kitchen area. They had a microwave. They had like, basically you could kind of cook in there. So she would eat the worst stuff, like as far as her diet, and she was obese or whatever. And I didn't care. I never made any comments about it. I just kept going in. So, but I didn't like how she would try to almost dominate the office kitchen as if it was just her kitchen. So like everything in it, the whole cabinets were full of stuff that were all hers. It was not marked or anything. And she would leave it out on the table, like in the office lounge area. That's where everybody in the whole building goes to if they need to use something or like eat something. So it's like, why would you put stuff in the middle of the lounge when you have a big ass office just like the rest of us, and there's literally enough room in your office to where you could literally have a microwave in there if you wanted. You could have like your plates, cups, spoons, forks, whatever you want. You could have all this food in there if you wanted. So I was like, yeah, she's like desperate for attention basically. But anyway, I started stopping at Trader Joe's or like Whole Foods on my way to work in the morning because sometimes if I would forget something, I didn't like having to go out for lunch. I liked being able to just eat at the office or have something in the fridge. So I started bringing my little healthy stuff, like my little salads or, you know, whatever. So I would bring it in for the week, all my little healthy meals. And then once I was done eating my salad and stuff, then I would walk around the campus, like kind of walk around the office campus just to get a little walk in and to like kind of burn off the calories and stuff. And so people were noticing me and they were like, oh, look at Exoticals United. Oh, look at you. You're walking. Oh, good job. Like you're trying to burn off your lunch that you ate. And I'd be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm bloated. So I'm trying to like burn this off. And so I don't know if she saw the attention I was getting or if she was just like jealous or whatever, but tell me why this crazy ass refrigerator ass bitch, she literally started shopping at fucking Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. Not only did she start shopping there, because that's not a big deal, right? Anybody can shop anywhere. She bought the exact same shit that I eat for my breakfast and lunch. Like I'm talking everything was the exact same. So like if I drank pineapple juice for breakfast, she bought the exact same pineapple juice, exact same label, same everything. If I had a salad that had spinach in it, she would buy the exact same salad. She started getting the exact same shit that I was eating. And I was like, okay, this is getting weird. So first you're wearing the same fucking outfit, then you're buying the same shit. And I was like, you know what? Maybe she's trying to be healthy. I was like, maybe she's trying to be healthy. So maybe she's learning from me. Cool. And so I didn't think anything of it. And I just kept, you know, buying my groceries. Tell me why this bitch would leave the shit in the refrigerator. She wouldn't even eat that shit. She would leave it in there and then it would literally go rotten. And then it's like, but then you can't touch it, right? Because it's her stuff. You can't touch it. And so I'm like, okay, so what was this bitch doing? She's acting as if she's eating healthy? So you did all this. You went and spent your little bit of money that you do have because you complained about money. So you went and spent that money on some healthy shit that you know you're not going to fucking eat. You know you're not going to eat that shit. You know that you eat fucking pizza and donuts for breakfast. That's literally what she would eat for breakfast. She would... Oh my God, I'm going to hell. But no, she would literally eat fucking pizzas. Like, you know, the Hot Pockets or like those little personal pizzas. She would eat pizzas and donuts and have a Coca-Cola. Like, you know, the large Cokes and stuff. She would have that type of stuff for breakfast. And then she would purchase the same stuff as me. And then she would just let it go rotten. So I'm like, what are you doing? Are you trying to pretend like we're the same or something? Like, what's going on? So anyway, time went on and she kept doing all of her bullshit. And then, okay, she started getting fed up with me at this point. Like she started being annoyed because she already failed. Like when she tried to not train me, I was still doing a good job. She tried to not give me the keys and stuff. I ended up making friends with the HR people. They gave me everything I needed. The CFO liked me. The president liked me. Nobody liked her. They wanted to take my picture or whatever for like the little thing. They didn't really care about taking her pictures. She was mad because I didn't want to talk shit about the other accountant. She seemed to be upset about the whole money part. And then also she would complain constantly like, oh, I have to work till midnight. I have to do this. I have to do that. She really didn't have to do shit. Because the CFO, he, like I said, he was a millennial like me. He didn't care. He would get off work early. He never sent email saying you need to do XYZ. He didn't even care. So this bitch, she had such a bad personality that literally the fucking CFO, the guy, the white guy that was actually the one who hired me, not her, the CFO fucking quit because he got tired of her bullshit. So I remember I went into his office. I was like, oh, are you quitting? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay or whatever? And he was like, yeah, I don't want to work here, basically. Like, I don't want to deal with the bullshit. And I could tell that, like, he was going through that typical bullying. You know, those people, they just get mad when they see like a younger person kind of in a higher up position. So I know what that's like myself. I call it ageism. I really do think that that is a form of ageism where you're intimidated or you don't want the younger person to like surpass you or whatever in the workplace. So anyway, this guy quits. And so then Miss Refrigerator, she gets all upset because she's like, oh shit, now I have to like really do all this work. And so this bitch tries to put even more work onto me. So not even putting it onto the other accountants or anything, literally tries to put more work onto me directly. And so at this point, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to be doing this much work, I need to be getting paid more. Like I need to apply for other jobs or something because it's like, I'm learning all these skills, first of all, so thank you. So the reason why I never rejected the extra tasks and stuff that she would assign me is because I know how to social climb using my things that I learned at a job. So anytime someone tries to sabotage me by assigning a new piece of work, guess what? That's going on my resume. That's exactly how I became an accountant in the first place without having an accounting degree. It's because accountants in the past, they would push their work onto me when I was a financial coordinator. So then I said, oh, you know what? This is my experience. I listed everything directly on my resume, and that's how I got promoted. And I worked at another company. That's how I've been able to switch careers and stuff so easily. It's because if somebody tries to put some other work onto me, I'll be like, okay, sure, yeah, I'll learn. And then I'll just learn it and then put it on my resume and immediately apply for jobs that same day. So basically, the way that I was doing it is, however many times you piss me off, that's how many jobs I'm going to apply to. So guess what? Miss Refrigerator, you pissed me off 5 times today. I am applying for 5 jobs on Indeed. You pissed me off twice today? Okay, I'm going to apply for 2 jobs. You pissed me off 12 times today? Okay, bitch, I'm applying for 12 jobs. You pissed me off all day? Guess what? I'm spending my entire hour-long lunch break applying for different jobs. And so it got to a point where other jobs started like trying to recruit me and stuff, or they started trying to like, get me to work there. And she didn't know this at the time. But anyway, I noticed that like she was the type of person where she would get extremely stressed out over stuff. Like she would get all worked up and frazzled, and then she would take it out on me. So you guys, literally it got to the point where there were times where I was like crying because I was upset. I felt like, oh my God, like this woman is really trying to like bully me basically. She really doesn't want me to have a job. She really wants me to be out here homeless and like struggling and like, not having any money. And so you know what I did? Oh, and by the way, I had this YouTube channel at the time. So my YouTube channel only had about 4,000 subscribers. And another thing that happened was I had been listening to business podcasts and I heard about these other girls, like random white girls, where they would start businesses just based off their whole YouTube channels or just based on a podcast or whatever. And some of those girls, I was like, okay, if she can do it, I know that I can do this. And I noticed that over time, it started making me depressed because I knew like, I don't want to be in this same job 10 years from now. I know that I'm smart enough to work for myself basically. So I started really working more on this YouTube channel. I'm also the type of person where I will do other jobs on the side. So whether that's Instacarting, DoorDashing, selling stuff on the side, you know how you can sell stuff on like OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So I started doing all of that. And so after I got off my job, after I was off work at 4:30, I'd come home at like 5 and I would do some sort of other stream of income from 5 p.m. until like 11:30 p.m. or sometimes until midnight working on videos. And so my YouTube revenue went from $30 a month to $300 a month. So that's 10x. I know that it sounds small, but that's actually 10x revenue. So from an accountant's perspective, that's fantastic. That is a fantastic like entrepreneurial type of thing. Most businesses take what, 5 years to even become profitable. So the fact that I was already technically profitable on YouTube, I was like, oh wow. So if I can go from $30 to $300, that means I can 10x it again and go to like $3,000. And then I started examining my own finances, like just how much money I'm making from the job, like after taxes, after everything, like how much money am I bringing home per month? And then I realized I'm not even actually bringing home that much money from this accounting job. So the level of stress that I'm enduring and the level of bullshit that I'm enduring from Miss Refrigerator, who thinks that I'm trapped at this job because she knows that like I'm young and that it's a great opportunity for me. She knew that. That's why she was fucking jealous. So I was thinking, this bitch thinks that she can treat me any kind of way because she knows that I am kind of privileged to be working here or like to be getting paid this much or whatever, or she thinks that I think that like, you know, this is the best I'm going to do. But to be fair, technically she was not wrong because I don't have an accounting degree. And so if I wanted to go any higher, like let's say I wanted to become an accounting manager or accounting supervisor, there would be a ceiling that I would hit to where at some point I would have to either switch careers again or I would have to maybe start my own business or whatever. So technically she was not wrong. And so I started thinking about it and I was like, yeah, why am I here? Like seriously, why am I doing this? Especially if this money is not even that substantial. And if I can 10x this YouTube, that means I can 10x it again and again and again and again. And even if this YouTube channel fails, I can start another YouTube channel because now I have the blueprint of how to do it. Now I know how to create a profitable YouTube channel because I have the skills. And by the way, this channel right here is actually not even my first YouTube channel. This isn't even my first time doing a channel because I've actually worked in social media before this professionally. So I was thinking, I don't need this shit. I don't need any of this. So I made a plan. I was like, okay, by the time it hits my birthday, I want to quit. Like that'll be my greatest birthday present. Oh, and also I'm not going to put in a 2 weeks notice. Like I had decided that. I ended up quiet quitting, which is like, you know, where you still do your job or whatever, but you stop caring. So like all that crying that I had done before because I was sad or whatever, or because I felt very falsely accused, I stopped doing that. So then I noticed she got worse. She began, I'm not kidding, she literally gave a false report to HR. She falsely reported me and tried to say that I was bashing her or like trying to make her look bad in front of one of the clients. That was absolutely false. And so at that point, I didn't give a fuck because I had already quiet quit. And so I responded to the HR report. So they have like this system where you submit it online or whatever, and then you get contacted by HR or by the boss, and then they're like, hey, this is, you know, this report has been filed against you. I literally responded. I was like, I wrote an entire letter. I was like, this is a malicious and erroneous report. And then I literally wrote a whole page thing saying, this is why it's wrong. This did not happen. Not only did I do that, but you already know me, queen of receipts. You can thank my journalism background for that. I already had screenshots. I attached every single email. I attached every single correspondent I had ever had with that client. And I said, this is proof that what she's saying is false. She is saying this to me because she is mad. And then I started telling like basically why she was mad and all the different ways that she like refused to train me and, you know, not realizing that I had SOPs and stuff and how I had to create all of these standard operating procedures because she obviously had no experience being a manager. So then, you know, she got bodied in that area because, you know, basically she got exposed because she was the manager. She was the supervisor. So I exposed her ass in that area. So she just got bodied in front of HR, in front of like the VP. And this is all online, by the way. So then she tried to falsely accuse me again. So I remember one time I was like trying to ask her a question and I went into her office. I was like, oh, hey, I just asked her a random question. She was like, oh, You're trying to look at my computer screen. You're trying to invade my privacy. First of all, the fucking computer screen, it's not even facing the door. Literally, her computer screen was facing the opposite direction. So, like, when you walk into her office, you can't see the screen because you can only see the back of the computer. So I was like, no, I'm standing over here. And then again, she tried to accuse me of like trying to look at her screen, and she was like, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that I saw you trying to look at my screen." Basically, she became very paranoid, and she started like really falsely accusing me, and she was like, "I almost was going to write you up for that this morning." So finally I just exploded. I just looked her dead in the eye, and I said it in a very calm tone. I was like, "Do you want me here?" And she was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Do you want me here?" And she was like, "What? You mean here, like in the chair?" And I was like, "Do you want me to work here at this company?" And she was like, and started stuttering because she was so shocked that I would just be that direct and assertive. I was like, "Do you want me to work at this company or not? Do you want me to leave right now? Let me know. Do you want me to walk out? Like, do you want me to quit or do you want to fire me right now?" I literally offered for her to fire me because that's how much I stopped giving a fuck. And she didn't fire me. She was like, "Oh, no, I don't. I do want you to work here." Because I exposed her because she actually thought about it and she was like, "Oh shit, if she's gone, now I'm going to have to do all the work that I pushed off onto her." And I already knew that. I already knew if I leave, even if you fire me, you're the one who's going to have to suffer because you are the one who will be stuck here doing this work with your low paid accountant ass. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. So anyway, then she backed off after that because she knew, oh shit, she's actually a very valuable accountant. And she's like the most valuable basically because she's doing all this work. She's taught herself. So she doesn't need to like ask people for help and stuff. So then she started backing off. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait until my birthday to quit. I'm just going to spend the next 2 weeks gradually deleting all of the standard operating procedures. So I didn't like delete anything to where it's like illegal or anything like that. I just removed everything to where it would make it harder for once I'm gone for her to go back and try to find all the files, have all the backup, do all the stuff with all the invoices, make all the reports, do all the journals. So I was like, I'm not going to quit today. I'm not going to walk out today. I'm going to gradually pack up my office. So every day I was taking a little bit of stuff out of my office to where it's not noticeable at all. I didn't come in with a box or anything and like, take everything out. Nope. I just gradually started moving stuff out of the office. Because I also had paid my bills. Like I'm the type of person to stay ahead on my bills. So I also paid my bills ahead of time as well. And I was like, I could work at a fucking coffee shop and make up whatever money I would be missing from this job. I have a YouTube channel. I have all these different ways I can sell things. I'm already ahead on my bills anyway. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not the type of person that looks down on jobs. I don't look down on people's socioeconomic statuses or anything. So I'm not the type of person where I would be embarrassed if I had to be a bartender or work at the mall. I'm not like that. I will go work at fucking McDonald's before I will let somebody punk me for the rest of my life. So anyway, I started taking my stuff out of my office just gradually. And every day, something new would get deleted. So I would delete like a standard operating procedure. And I would do that so that when she hires the next person, she has to train them again from scratch. Because when people want you to put in a 2 weeks notice, they want you to put in the 2 weeks notice so that they have 2 weeks to replace your ass. So that they can bring the new person in so that you have to train their asses and you get to do extra work as a trainer with no extra pay. So I wasn't dumb enough to do that. I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not giving a 2 weeks notice. Did she give a 2 weeks notice before she falsely accused me? Did she give a 2 weeks notice before she decided to not train me? Did she give a 2 weeks notice before she would talk shit behind my back or yell across the office or, make all these crazy claims? No. So I'm not giving you a 2 weeks notice. I want you to suffer. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's how I was. So anyway, I gradually deleted all of my accounting standard operating procedures for like where you need to go to log in, what's the password to this, what's the password to that, what website do you have to go on. My calendar, I had created an entire very organized calendar that everyone could have access to. So it's like, hey, this vendor or this client or whatever, they usually contact us at this time because they want to make a payment to us, or maybe we owe them a certain payment, or hey, you have to call the bank on this day. Just all these random like little facts that you needed to know. I gradually started removing all of my information. And then, the backup files where it's like you do a copy, like if you're an accountant, you have to make you have to show copies of like why you paid a certain thing, or you have to like basically show your boss, hey, this is what this payment was going towards or whatever. So even though it's already documented, the backup documents and stuff, it just makes it easier for organizational purposes or like for auditing purposes, like internal audits and stuff like that. So yeah, the whole auditing stuff, like all that backup information, gone. And like I said, it wasn't anything to where it's like illegal. I made sure to actually look it up before I like did all that stuff. It was just the type of stuff to where it would just be harder for her. Like she would have to go back and it would take her hours to like find all that stuff, print all the different stuff out. So every day I would come in, I would like maybe shred a little bit of something, so they didn't know what I was doing or what I was shredding. So yeah, I would just shred a little something here and there so that next month when she gets asked like, oh, can you give me all these different files just so we have them? Nope, you're gonna have to spend 8 hours finding all those different things now. And then on the last day, I was totally normal. I was like, oh, hey guys, how's it going, whatever. And then I just walked out. I never saw them again. That was about a little over a year ago. So the way that I was planning it, I was like, hey, look, I'm just going to quit this job and I'm going to take a break for 3 months from working 9 to 5 jobs. I'm going to find my own way to make money, whether it's via YouTube or via something else. And then I can go back to whatever 9 to 5 type of job I want to afterwards. Well, it wasn't quite a year ago, but it was about, I don't know, 6 or 7. It was like last September. And I have not had to go back to work since then. I have not had to go back to any sort of 9 to 5 job since then because I've always found other ways to make money for myself. So anyway, I don't know if she's still working there. So I do happen to drive past there sometimes. I haven't seen her car or anything. And I didn't see her name on the website. But then again, I could be wrong. Maybe she is still there suffering and still doing, double or triple the work. I don't know. But anyway, that was how I got my revenge. And yeah, I don't care about ever working in that field again. It's not a big deal to me. And working those types of jobs can be a depression trigger for me anyway. But what do you ladies think? Have you ever walked out of a job? Because I will say that by far is one of the most badass moments that I've ever had in my life. I felt like such a badass. Yes, I was like scared while I was doing it. Yes, I was shaking as I was shredding the files because I was like, oh my God, what if somebody walks in here and they're like, what are you shredding? I had already thought of a lie though. I was like, oh, I can just say that I was shredding my personal emails or something, or my personal statements. But I was like, yep. That was by far one of the most badass things I've ever done in my life. I do not regret it. I'm so glad that I did it because I literally got revenge basically for all of the crap, all of the bullying, all the false accusations, the refusal to train me, the jealousy over, my little salary, which wasn't even that fucking big. And I was thinking, are you that broke? Oh, I also forgot to say about Miss Refrigerator. She was also like, she lived with her parents and stuff. That's why I thought like, okay, she probably has, maybe she has some social issues or whatever, but she was saying how like she's too poor, or like how she's been so poor her whole life to where she can't even afford her own apartment, and how she's just basically drowning in debt and stuff. But then I also would see like kind of her eating habits. So I was kind of thinking, well, are you spending all your money on food? I didn't say that, but I was kind of thinking it. And so she was she would always complain about that. She also complained about how whatever guy she liked, like the guy never liked her back, and how she was a side chick and all this other shit. So I was thinking, yeah, she's definitely she hates herself, obviously, and she hates her own life. And so she gets mad when she sees other people enjoying their lives or kind of like leveling up. But anyway, that was by far the most badass moment of my life. And this is why I'm also glad that I had a YouTube channel / other streams of income. And this is why I say everybody in the Pretty Girl Club should have multiple streams of income or like some sort of passion that you're doing on the side, because my YouTube channel, and also even just having apps on your phone where it's like you can sell stuff on OfferUp, you can do like a DoorDash or Uber or Instacart, you can do Shipt, Amazon, whatever it is that you want to do. Even if you just have access to it, even if you're not doing it a lot, having stuff like that still helped me to feel the confidence and safety. Or maybe you have some sort of boyfriend or whatever, somebody paying your bills, I don't know, sugar daddy, boo thing, whatever. But that sort of stuff, it still did help me to feel safe. And I felt like such a badass doing it, because I was like, I would rather have no money potentially and still be able to walk out, because I trust myself. I know that I'm not going to let myself be homeless. I know that I'm not going to let myself be on the street. So I trust myself enough to know that I will figure it out. And I was not depending on anybody to catch me or whatever. But yeah, that was by far the most badass moment of my life. I felt so powerful doing that. And I also felt powerful. So I sent an email actually to the president afterwards. I didn't even tell her, hey, I quit. Nope. I sent an email to her boss's boss. And I said, hey, just so you know, I quit. And here's why. It's because Miss Refrigerator, blah, blah, blah. This is what happened. And then that's it. Never heard from any of them ever again. I had blocked everyone, though, actually. Everybody was blocked on my phone and everything. So, yeah, that's what happened, and I don't regret it. But what do you ladies think? Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever walked out of a job and not regretted it? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.